Alright, welcome back to Reassembly. I'm sitting here with our Constellation class our Constitution class that we had from the previous episode. And it looks like some of our friends have repopulated the area quite a bit, so hopefully that means they're going to be well defended. So we're going to do a little more fighting, I think, so we can unlock a couple more components, and then maybe build our Miranda class, and maybe something else. There we go. Looks like red expanded quite a bit too. The only thing with red is they end up being a nuisance and they build fast because they have their shipyards that are mobile. They don't actually have any fixed bases or anything. Might actually see about setting up a fleet again. Go back to that base and grab some allies. Just have a little more survivability. If I run into like 4 or 5 of the big guys, I'm gonna be done. Back up here. Should have enough to unlock the factory. Maybe I can create that star base that can make larger designs. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like this one has the capacity to make something big like me, so this will take you, and you. Now that'll give us a couple support vessels to take on the trip. Lose 1 or 2, it's not the end of the world. I want to get rid of some of this red though. Now, when you highlight them, you usually want to have it set to attack my target. And they'll automatically engage. Alright, then you have to do a single job. Get those resources. Looks like we almost could. There we go. Nice kill. Alright, let's head back to base, drop these resources off, and get that Miranda class built. Now, it's probably going to be about the similar strength, but I'm going to be focusing on more missile armament as a supporter to the main cruisers. Oh yeah, watch them building that swarm. They just keep building. I'm gonna move away a little bit, but still in the safety area. Alright, enter 3 for the fleet. So, we're gonna keep the same saucer sections, so we're gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna save that. So the Miranda class looks like most of the hull is actually built in. So we're gonna get these. Pretty much similar to cells. We'll redesign all this in a little bit. There you go. Alright, so I'm gonna get rid of these missile launches here. Move this out of the way. Move our main thruster array up here. We're going to actually put the shields right in the nacelles. No, that's not a shield block. And so we're going to have a little bit of exposure there, but for the most part, it'll work. There's a little bit better aft shielding. And then this here. No, we don't want to do that. There we go. Sometimes the controls can be a little, the snap points can be a little pain in the butt, but you'll get it eventually. Alright, so because this is going to be a missile cruiser, I'm going to get rid of these and move the primary collection points up here. let's start adding some torpedoes, some missiles. Did find out that if you put a lot of blocks here, you can add more missiles while still keeping them relatively compact. And that basically just gives us one heck of a volley. So there's going to be our missiles. We lost a couple of these, but I'd rather trade the shielding for it and take some damage on this in the cells. I'm only gonna lose a little bit of speed, so not too worried about that. But there's our Miranda. Now I'm going to create an R1 space station. So this one's going to be a pretty large station. So I'm going to use the largest blocks. It's not going to be true scaling because it's just going to be way out of the realm of possibilities with the game design, but we can at least get a decent size platform. So I don't think I'm going to get too much bigger than this. I have done scaling projects in the past, just playing on my own, and generally it's really hard to get a common scale that works well, because especially when you have larger ships like the Borg ships that are, that didn't work, so I'm just going to repaste that. The Borg ships that are like 3,000 kilometers cubed, and you end up having just these tiny little spaceships, and just ends up being no fun. So for this kind of a build, I actually group my shield generators in this 4-packs for that extra protection, and I will be removing some of this area here for should buy it a factory. So because factories are kind of odd shaped, they'll actually fit in here, and I found a way to kind of make them somewhat presentable and close in without losing too much of the outside circle. So we'll deal with those in a bit. So there's those. Alright. There we go. I like to take these little wedges and kind of wedge it in a little bit, just to give it that better aesthetic. As long as there's at least some spot like here that's facing out, the new spawns will be able to get out. So now I'll copy this, make it easier. Oops, that didn't work right. There we go. Now I always click on this and move it a little bit just to make sure that everything is separated, or all together, not separated. Alright, now we get to start filling it in. We'll go with the large arrays. And eventually these designs will be updated with larger weapons as I unlock them, but for now it's all about just getting the basics. And these stations aren't going to be super aggressive, as they're more just like a keeping the enemy away and building new ships to, you know, keep loading our guys into space. And yes, I know I could build one corner and mirror this, but sometimes I like a little bit of difference in it. Alright, so there's those. Do flat cannon arrays. Canonically, the inside of these would be one giant space dock, but you gotta put some power and stuff in here anyways. I'm not gonna put any long range missiles or any like missiles or torpedo launchers on it. It's gonna be just pretty much the defenses you see here. The thing's size and sheer number of shields alone are gonna create quite a bit of a bonus to it. Alright, so now make the core center shaft. I will eventually be making, once I get to like Deep Space Nine era, I'll be making things like maybe Terok Nor, although in this game it's easier to do a 4-armed instead of 3-armed version. You'll see minor differences like that, because I'm not going to sit here and plot out the geometric shapes just to build them in here. I'll give it my center area to work with. So I am going to provide some extra shielding out here, just in case they do damage all the way in. It's going to have its own generator banks. There we go. Let's see. There's our command center. Alright. So we got that. Now we need to add in our bulk storage. It's just going to be filling in the gaps. May have gone a little bit larger than I wanted to, but at this point, the best part about stations is when they spawn, they don't cost you anything. So you can make them as big as you want without having to worry about paying a price for them to spawn. All you have to do is go in and capture in your location. So right now I'm working my way in from larger to smaller blocks. So, because every extra quantity of blocks is gonna, or every individual piece was what's gonna contribute to your lag. So the more single pieces you get, the less lag you're gonna get. So if I made this thing all on just small blocks, the amount of processing power to keep a track on each one of those blocks and the damage on it, especially when you've got a whole map full of them, starts to get a little CPU intensive, and that's when you start getting lag and your galaxy slows down and the game gets unplayable, which is never a good thing. So it's another reason why I try to avoid building too much bigger than this here, for the same reason. But this station will definitely allow us to start seeing the custom designed larger ships more, because these stations actually have the storage amount, because a station can't spawn more a ship that's worth more P than it actually has storage facilities, or these, and the harvesters also contribute to it. So a lot of times what I'll do when I'm designing a station like this is I will actually set it as my player ship, even though I won't be able to move, just to be able to see what that P amount is. That way I know if I need to add more storage to it if I design a ship that needs more P. Well, generally storage versus mass is not a huge offset, so you can very easily make something that can build a lot larger than it is. And that's one of the achievements at the beginning of the game, is to be able to spawn your ship with your ship. So this part's a little slow. Smaller, just times when it's on smaller ships, it's a little bit quicker filling in the gaps, but I'll get there. The other thing with the larger blocks as opposed to smaller ones is they have overall higher hit points, so an equivalent size larger block is going to actually be stronger than 2 or 3 of the smaller ones that make up the same size. So say for instance this 3x3 block has a health of 2,250, one single one of these has only 250. So you figure 250 times 9, that's, well, I guess it does have the same. Forget what I said. Although it does take that much damage to break the block instead of individually breaking them apart, so structurally it makes it stronger. Again, apologize for any background noise. This apartment has thin walls. I don't really have any type of noise canceling ability. Eventually, sooner or later, I might be able to set the studio up a little bit better, but for now, my family's your family. Alright, halfway there. About the only thing that's going to threaten this are the races that have nukes. And even then, they still gotta get through those quadruple layered shields. In the past, just messing around, I have made ships with 3x3 shields on this faction, but for the most part, it was just unnecessary. And I never really lost the shields, had them drop below a certain point anyways, because of the overlapping coverage. And with these 5 major power grids, those shields aren't going to drop anytime soon. Because in this one, the shields will take so much damage before they drop, but they regenerate pretty quickly, and there's a decent layer of hull to get to the shield generator itself. So even if the shields drop, there's a chance they'll regenerate before you actually fight them, and as it is called reassembly, stuff rebuilds fast enough that you really have to put out some damage to take out something this size. There we go, I think that's it. Now we do our move around test, make sure nothing's left behind. It's going to be an R1 class. Yeah, I know now, I have to build the ship. Alright, so upgrade. About 15,000. Let's play safe. That's 3. We are gonna, while we're here and all my resources are gonna go to a friendly, I'm going to make sure that's what Constitution has one. This up here. Copy this. And then you can voluntarily self-destruct by holding J, which you'll drop the points and it'll affect your yellow score here, but if you drop it near your base, at least they'll pick it up. So here we go. Looks like we've got 36,000 P to play with on size for a while. So then now we'll I'm gonna take our Miranda for test flight. Now that we have a station to build, we can go start searching around for. Look at all that. My old computer would have been struggling by now. Get some power. Yeah, it's a little bit better spread of missiles. Let's take a look at our map. So there's going to be a whole bunch of inactive stations in this and around this whole circumference. There's no agents yet, so for now we're gonna start exploring in this area here, so you can find some stations to spawn, so we can get our bigger spawn points. We might take out some reds along the way. Oh yeah. Miranda's a little bit slower. This. Come on. Some kills. Another reason why I'm actually taking the time to get some kills along the way is because when I do find another station, it'll help spawn a bunch of ships for defense. Alright, get through those. Looks like we're gonna have to do some serious red hunting soon. I may have to move up a time area on ships and maybe make an Excelsior. Here's another patch. A little bit of farmers. Generally, at least once every playthrough, I design something that's akin to a exterminatus to come into a nest like this and just get rid of all the flying stuff, because it helps reduce the lag on the overall galaxy. The more you explore in the galaxy, the more it keeps track of. Kind of similar to Minecraft, so your game file gets bigger. Which right now isn't an issue, but can be. Especially if I end up playing multiple playthroughs. Oh yeah. Eat 'em up. So I gotta go inward. And as you'll notice, a lot of other factions fight each other, so sometimes you'll run into huge areas from each faction where they've got their biggest ships. Ah, there's a place to spawn. Hopefully I've been flying long enough now that the new station's spawns when I get there. And you can tell when you get there because when it generates the new area, it'll look like a destroyed version of whatever it's going to grow into. So, almost there. And it looks like it is the new design, so that means I'll be able to offload a decent amount of this. And as it generates ships, it's going to start producing bigger and bigger ships. The smallest ships that it creates will... the small ships that will keep bringing resources to it, and they'll keep bringing more and more resources so that it builds bigger and bigger ships. Like I said, once I get to the Galaxy class, and like the Sovereign class, I'll probably be adding shipyards directly to the ships. That way I can spawn ships that I want in my fleet rather than having to rely on the game to spawn them in. There we go. Some points. Another thing that I can do to kind of force the issue is build up like a couple thousand points and then go over to the base and drop them off. That'll help too. Oh, there's another station. I think I might go grab that. That might give it a little bit more support to the area. You figure in the largest map, which this is, there's 400 stations. So that should tell you what's the distance between them, how many there are. But if I go near the center, there's going to be a lot more, but there's also going to be a lot harder enemies and the agents to deal with. Agents are other players' ship designs, so it's a lot of times it can be hit and miss. There's so many mods out for the game that sometimes they can slip through the cracks and you end up fighting a 50,000, 80,000 piece ship that's got like layered command modules and stuff that is just like not beatable. And usually when you get into that, I'll make a kind of cheap ship myself just to wipe them out as quickly as I can. So the shields are actually holding pretty good. Alright, let's tag this guy. There we go. Alright, I think we're getting close to... Can't tell if it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes, so maybe closing this round off soon. Then next time, like I said, next episode I'll get the Excelsior class going, do some cleanup, maybe get a good chunk of space for us. The Excelsior is technically a heavy cruiser, so I may put a ship space yard on it just so I can drop ships and claim more territory, or at least drop micro stations, which I usually leave as like static defenses in areas that will just keep the area claimed, because each one of those squares is an area that you can claim. And the inner areas are determined by number of entities that are in course touching it. Alright, we'll do some more killing on the way up to the other station, and then we'll call it an episode. The other thing I hate these things is they get in the way. Alright. And before I go, just to give you a sheer idea of the size. Those two stations that I was going back and forth are way up here. So I'm thinking if I can get this area here all under my control, it'll basically give me the starter to take over the rest of the galaxy. So eventually, by the time I have the Sovereign class and some of the late era stuff, they'll easily be able to take anything that's on the map. And then we decide to stay with the Federation, maybe jumping into a wormhole and starting all over again. So, alright, well, this is the third episode of Reassembly, second with boys. And hopefully you're enjoying it. Thank you for sharing the game with me.